Hello, welcome to vlog number 4 on the 2nd of March 2025, which happens to be my best friend's birthday. Happy birthday if you are watching this. Well wishes to him, my best friend of 17, 18 years. And if it wasn't for him, I would not be here, be as clear and coherent and maybe even here at all if it wasn't for him. His friendship has meant everything to me, but that's not what this video is about. I mean, he deserves everything good, everything that is good that is unfolding for him right now with a wife and house and everything. It's just so great. Anyway, that's not what this video is about. I guess I'll do a little recap since the last vlog. I don't really have a clear structure for these vlogs, but I think since the last time, I did a couple more live streams on my gaming channel, and also yesterday on X, just straight onto the Twitter platform. The previous streams, the gaming ones, I'm trying out this idea of where I play a game that doesn't require my full attention while I watch documentaries, podcasts, interviews on science, spirituality, nature. Haven't gotten to those yet. There's a number of videos in the queue that I'd love to do. And I would love for people to tune in and attend and riff some ideas, especially with the nature ones. The first one is a documentary on certain innovations that have happened agriculturally that we all could implement locally, like more effective farming on concrete, like lifted off concrete, but all the little bits. It's really cool. I imagine a very optimistic, immediate future, unfolding future now where perhaps centralization is breaking down a bit and we take more responsibility for our lives, which honestly is way more fun. It's way more fulfilling. You know, it's easy to, especially when you're young, especially in America, the way that we grow up through high school and into college years, to just seek convenience and quick fixes via fast food or prepackaged meals. There's nothing inherently wrong with the prepackaged meals, but there is a fulfillment, a satisfaction in making your own food, in either growing your food if you can, or sourcing it where to the best of your ability, depending on where you live with your supermarkets and such, where the ingredients have come from, and then to cultivate over time the taste, the ability to meld these flavors, these individual ingredients together to create something so rich and beautiful and nutritious to feed our body, to feed our heart, our soul, just so happy, but also really to feed our body properly. It is this complex conglomeration. I don't know. We're made of 50 trillion cells. It's wild. And apparently they're all doing their own thing. And yet they work in a harmony so that we sort of animate it. And we can use this vehicle to do our own thing, but we have to provide it nourishment. I don't have the best words to describe this. I did not plan on even getting into this in this video. Just expressing my joys of cooking, and especially cooking for other people. To be able to spend time with your friends in ways that are other than going out for drinks and going out to buy tickets to this thing and do this thing and that thing. It's cook food, invite your friends over and have a great meal. And yeah, you could watch a movie or watch whatever and chat there. But anyway, I'm not here to tell you the right way to live, and just throwing out a suggestion. It is so fulfilling, and it's not just me saying it. It is one of the greatest joys in life to live more simply and more present and more holistically. And anyway, this video, while I'm excited to be exploring the live streams with gaming and watching something that's positive, because on these other streaming platforms and in the game communities themselves, There's a lot of toxicity. Even just last night, I almost got, I said something and it really triggered a lot of people, and they said some very mean things toward me. And younger me probably would have wanted to fight back. Like, oh no, you're wrong. Like, why are you like that? Blah, blah, blah. And instead I breathed and just went, okay. And I did little smiley faces. I did little, you know, I didn't pry. I wanted to. I wanted to be like, why are you so upset? Like, is everything okay in your life? Because I just mean well for people, but quite often that doesn't work either. In order to effectively communicate with people and to have the positive impact on the world that you might want to have, you also have to meet people where they are. And if you take someone who is espousing very racist and hateful things all the time, and you just say, bro, you need to find Jesus, it's like that gap is too wide. That doesn't work. And they're going to increase their aversion to ever finding Jesus, as you call it, as you say it. Like, it might help. It might, maybe after 100 people saying, hey, you should probably find Jesus. Hey, you should, maybe that, is planting a seed and germinating a seed. Maybe that does work. I don't know. Maybe that has worked. I know that I have managed to plant seeds. I can only say this in retrospect after months and years, where something I said like contributed. It wasn't maybe my thing is what made it click for them, but it contributed to them having that aha, that epiphany. I've seen even staunch rationalists and materialists, people very skeptical of spirituality, of these other things, come around after a year. One of them now is on the path to priesthood. And it's like, wow. That's not, and the path, there are so many different paths in a way to being better, to having a fulfilling life, to see the thing that I actually really want to convey, and I don't have the words for it now, but I've been thinking, how do I have the most positive impact on people that are in such modes of ignorance and hate? And I think instead of saying like, oh, well, Carl Jung talked about the shadow and you have a shadow you need to address. Does that really work? An approach though that's like, hey, we are born into this world and we have no idea what's going on. We're ignorant by default in a way. Well, I mean, so many children are just so curious and open and loving and playful from the beginning. And they tend to be conditioned into fear, into hate, into othering people. And we have this primal animalistic instinct to survive. I think a lot is conditioned, and maybe a lot of it is nature. It's thousands and thousands of years of us trying to survive, making sure our needs are met, and having people that disagree with our worldview, even though our view is still developing, theirs are still developing, and somehow there's a conflict. And we want to defend ourselves. Sometimes defense looks like offense, and things aren't always logical and rational, but I'm just describing a phenomenon that happens. And then as you grow up, some people, as they grow up, then they start to realize what a lot of these spiritual gurus and religious texts and things are saying about this world is like an illusion. And it's like, what do you mean by that? That's not something I can really get into right now, though I have spent the last couple hours studying the Bhagavad Gita more. And there's so much to share. And I'm not a pure devotee. I'm still learning, so I don't really feel super comfortable even sharing much from this. So I'm reading specifically, and I got this at New Vrindavan in West Virginia, which is a ISKCON temple, International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And they had this version of the book, the As It Is. by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. I think I pronounced that right. And while the verse, for example, is just a few lines, he provides a lot of commentary. And in the beginning, he described there are other versions with other commentaries. But of course, they think that this is the most channeled through pure translation, pure commentary. He himself, descending from a long line of gurus, supposedly going all the way back to Krishna. And the commentary is rich. And it's also very challenging. Whether you're reading the Bible or Bhagavad Gita, and this, if you're so called to read these things, it is about becoming better. It's about liberation. It's about salvation, which requires courage. It requires, especially if you're not used to it, to admit maybe you're wrong. Maybe you have incomplete information, which is not your fault, and you have to navigate that. That forgiving of your situation, of your parents, of where you were born, where you grew up, whatever it is, sort of just acknowledging the random chance of it and accepting it. Because first you have to accept it. You have to stop having this internal conflict of who you are, what you have and don't have for someone else. That has to be cleared good so that you can now transcend that and move beyond it. You have to be able to accept who you are and where you are. And I know you might have certain judgments of my appearance and my status, my privileges and such, and I understand. And yet, for most of my life, I was very plagued with this sort of self-hatred, this sort of fear of the world, and I indulged in escapist behaviors and tendencies because I did not want to face that. And I did not want to face that I grew up not having all the information. And it's not even a logical decision. It's just we intrinsically hold on to our how we grew up in our worldview. We're just oh no, this is it, because this is all I've known. And to have that break and shatter is almost painful. I think I've described that well. I could literally rant for hours and probably still feel like I'm not really hitting the essence. And so this is something, my learnings from this and from the Bible and from other texts and from much more, I would love to share. And I do feel called. A lot of this has been trying to discern my destiny, my duty. What am I here for? What is my purpose in life? And there's a lot of ideas out there. Especially with certain fixations on certain religions, on all the religions, just fixation on a religion and its supposed prophecies. And this is the way it has to be. And that fixation might actually blind us to the way that things really are. It's very interesting that in chapter 11, after 11 chapters of Arjuna talking to Sri Krishna as his friend, his cousin, his beloved, that Krishna reveals his true form, and it terrifies him. And he forgets all of that because of the real revelation of the truth. And see, to even say that and to tease that, I just hope that I'm speaking from a centered place and I'm saying the right words, because a lot of this is challenging and I don't know who's watching. And I'm still trying to understand. I was planning on, it's Sunday, so I was planning on spending time with a religious text. I was thinking the Bible, Corinthians. And I whipped up my phone before I did, which I'm trying not to do, but I saw an Instagram video by Janani, Janani. And she's been doing a series on the Bhagavad Gita, stepping through it. She's in a container with other people, with gurus, properly having the container and discussing this material. I didn't know this until I saw this one video, her latest video, in which she talked about this chapter 11, where Shri Krishna reveals the Vishwarupam, which I was describing. And I was like, yep, okay. So humility and devotion and to understand. See, I don't know if this is really helping. So I'm gonna move on from this for now. There are other videos that I want to make about this. And I'm almost done reading through Alan Watts's Tao, The Watercourse Way. And I almost made this video last night because I just wanted to talk about this. And then I figured I should maybe give it a couple more days. I specifically want to talk about how the Tao relates to government and how we organize as a society, as we organize as communities of humans. Yeah, I'll leave it there. I mean, the Tao Te Ching, these texts can be applied just personally as a spiritual text, a mystical text, or a way of running a business or a government, a nation, a civilization. Really interesting stuff that almost borders on anarchy, and yet, yeah, this is what I'll say, and then I'll get into it in another video, is that I'm inclined to also believe or think that if you let humans be, if you let people be, granted that they live in a healthy environment and there's no threat of war, if you let humans be, they will naturally form communities. They'll naturally form cooperations with each other. That to attempt to impose a government, a structure on things, will inevitably result in an equal and opposite reaction, we could say. And it's a very interesting, this is actually what I want to spend many, many hours, much of my life henceforth, pursuing, is this: what does the future of humanity and the earth look like? What are the innovations and revolutions that could happen without violence, hopefully, without some things that a lot of people out there are thinking. I've been thinking about a lot of this stuff for many years, haven't made much content. I think I might have some videos on this YouTube channel of me teasing that I've been thinking about this stuff, but I'm still young. I just turned 30 a few months ago. I still have a lot more to learn. And yet at the same time, there's nothing to learn, that we have the answers within. And so there's this balance that I'm still navigating of what practical knowledge is there to learn, to do it through humility, to not assume that I am certainly going to stumble upon the answer, but to stay open, stay curious, stay playful, see if there's something there that resonates for me. And so far, a lot of this resonates, meaning like there's just this intrinsic desire and interest I have to understand this stuff and to maybe apply it at large. It's just something I care. And I know a lot of people don't have this. Some people have even said, like, life is too short, why give an F? I can't really argue with that. And if that's them and their path and their duty and their desire or whatever, so be it. If that's their Tao, I don't know. I can't make that judgment. I can't make that. But I know mine is to understand this stuff to the best of my ability. That even here, as it's stated in the third verse of this chapter, chapter 7, out of millions and millions of men, some try to become perfect in this human form of life. And out of thousands and thousands of such perfected men, hardly one can understand what Lord Krishna is. Even if one is perfected by the realization You cannot possibly understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, without being in Krishna consciousness. Which made me go, okay, probably never going to reach it, at least in this life. But I'll still try. To me, this is the chief aim. And while I might be doing things that might not seem very spiritual per se, depending on how you might understand and view spirituality in other people and this, that, and the other, like playing video games, like trying to make video games. Although I would love to have I want to make deeply spiritual games. And I started to write a list of what those kinds of concepts would entail. Like, for example, especially very biblically, give and you shall receive tenfold. You shall receive more than you give, but you have to give, and not give with expectation, but just, in video game form, that could be, I give you a buff, a blessing that increases your power, and then in turn I increase my power. But what if we create it in a way that is not so obvious? Because of course that'll be gamified of like, oh, I'm going to go and bless everyone so that I become more powerful. But instead you hide that fact, and maybe I'm spoiling it now. You hide that fact, and then later on, the players who gave and gave, not knowing they're about to receive way more, end up becoming the most powerful later on in the game. If it's a multiplayer game, if it maybe has a short duration, like a 3-month long server kind of thing, or maybe years. However that pans out, I think to instill these spiritual concepts that I've been reading and learning and just intuiting into a gamified form, because ultimately humans are driven intrinsically to get something out of something. For them, like almost everyone, if not everyone, if not still me, that, it's about me. So I think probably the most effective way to make the world a better place is to design systems at various levels of life. You design systems in which someone does derive personal benefit, and it intrinsically benefits the all as well. How can we do that? How can we have a win-win, like an omni-win solution system? That's really fascinating, especially in regards to nature. How can we live in a way that's harmonious with nature that might actually... okay. We'll table that. It's already 23 minutes long. Want to make a video on Alan Watts' Tao? I want to make a video on many videos on all the other things I've been reading here. I guess I'll close soon. I could keep talking and talking. I had wonderful live streams. There's, the concept of AI. My latest stream yesterday on Twitter was me attempting to create something, just vibe coding, just using AI and just hitting accept. And if I run into an error, I copy paste the error and let it fix it, which isn't super sustainable, scalable. I mean, these technologies are only going to get better over time. But another set of videos I would love to make, probably obviously on a whole other channel, which is very focused on how can I help others understand the fundamentals and the basics of how to create a project, of how these pieces come together, of what to be thinking about when you are prompting, especially if you're building things that might be business critical, might be sensitive. Like, you have to consider security and scalability and such things, and still involve human experts before all this AI, who really have the fundamentals. It's very tricky what's unfolding now. And I don't know, it's just me wanting to help. It's me wanting to help inspire people, give people an optimistic view of things, as well as help people acquire the skills and the tools and the knowledge to make it happen. And to put out my vision or visions of how the future might unfold better, maybe less cyberpunk dystopia, as much as we romanticize it as much as cool as it is. I think we should go a little more solar punk and maybe keep the cyberpunk in the virtual, in the games, in the stuff. Let's not bring it into reality. Let's fantasize about it, but keep it fantasy. And how can we live more in harmony with each other and with nature? So yeah, these are some thoughts. I had no idea where this video was really going to go. Yeah, if you have any questions, let me know. And I'll keep doing this thing, even though I feel kind of silly doing it still. I'm going to keep doing it. Because when I've been trying to discern my duty and my... I guess this is the last thing I'll end on, is... In trying to discern my duty, and as I read this book, this text, which of course is encouraging pure devotion, in which case it says you may not receive material desires. Yeah, you may not receive a pure... For the living entity who desires to return to Godhead, material desires are impediments. A pure devotee of the Lord is therefore not awarded the material benefits desired by less intelligent living entities, who therefore prefer to worship demigods of the material world rather than engage in the devotional service of the Supreme Lord. So, reading that, it's like, I should get rid of all my material desires. And I think for the most part, I do. I mean, I've demonstrated that for the last several years, how I've not sacrificed my sense of integrity to go and earn money, even though that would be the wise and logical thing to do. I think now, this year, I'm on the cusp of receiving said abundance in order to really support my family and be able to pay others to help realize these creations. If I'm going to make these cool games, I kind of need money and influence to be able to attract the people to help me build the thing. So I have to be in the world, but maybe not of the world. And I've been doing my best to try to discern what that looks like. It's what I want to do. And I also have to realize who I am and realize my duty. As Arjuna, a Kshatriya, a warrior, had to fulfill his duty to protect the kingdom against people who would take it over and do bad things. That Sri Krishna even said, you may not go to hell by fighting, but you would by withdrawing from battle, from withdrawing your duty. You live this very honorable life, a very accomplished, accommodated warrior, but then to now abandon your duty here would tarnish all of that. And then, in order to help him understand, he goes into talking about how, God is everything, creation and destruction, and they are not separate things. They are part of this process, this cycle. And that's where actually bringing in concepts from this would really help. Because it goes into the same sort of thing, that when you separate things as distinct, you lose the fact that everything is interconnected. Like, we can only live because of the death of other things, be it plant life, animal life, and stars destroying and spreading its material, its stardust out, which somehow we're formed from. Wild. I'll end it here. It's 29 minutes in. These are just some of my thoughts here on this Sunday. I'm going to take the dogs on a walk and keep studying a bit and maybe get into something creative. So thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think. Yeah, be well.